This is continuing coverage of United States versus Sean Diddy Combs from the Hidden Killers podcast and True Crime Today.
Well, Diddy's not walking away with any awards from this trial with being the nicest person on the planet. Certainly very vile behavior that has been accounted for by Cassie Ventura, her mom even backing a lot of it up. We're going to talk about the psychology behind some of this today with Shavaun Scott, psychotherapist and author, and also this is her new book, Nightbird, a memoir. I do highly recommend checking this out at your local bookstore, Amazon, or wherever you get books. Let's start with Regina Ventura. This is Cassie's mom. She was on the stand the other day. Regina Ventura ended up paying Diddy 20 grand out of her own pocket for fear that he'd leak Cassie's explicit tapes and physically harm her daughter. That's what came out on the stand the other day. Her paying him 20 grand. Now, 20 grand is like nothing to Diddy, but it certainly was to her. And to do this is almost like reverse extortion in a certain way. What's going on with someone like a Diddy, where this is the power you seem to yield, where you can ask people to pay you to not do harm to another human being? What kind of human is this that we're talking about?
Yeah, he is so there's a lot of elements to him that are so cruel and sadistic. Not only the way he treats people sexually and with violence, but to exploit someone in this way. It's almost sadistic, isn't it? It's horrifying. And it also shows the degree of trauma that not only Cassie went through, but how this affected her family and other people that were connected to her.
And the feeling that this is what we have to do. Like, we can't get away from this. Like, we have to bow down to this monster and not leave. It's, I mean, and that's the whole dynamic of abuse and relationships and all that. But it's quite stunning. Let's talk about something that everybody seems to be talking about in this case, and that is the fact that Diddy allegedly had a thing for watching other men have relations with his significant other, Cassie Ventura. It's an interesting one. I know it's a thing out there for some folks, but at the same point, what's the psychology of a human being who's really wanting to do that and have your partner have sex while you watch with someone else and you're enjoying that? That doesn't sound like the definition of a healthy relationship.
No. And when I think of Sean Combs and what we know about him at this point, and I'm sure there's a lot we still don't know and will never know, but I just see a bundle of paraphilias. And a paraphilia is a clinical term for abnormal, irregular sexual behavior that causes harm to other people. And this guy had so many kinks that were harmful and hurtful and dangerous. And so the specific one about the watching, you do see this. There are couples that consent to it where, I mean, it's certainly not my thing to validate, but if it doesn't cause harm and everybody's on the same page, okay, so be it. But in this case, clearly, he was causing harm, and it's just one of many, from urinating on her and, voyeuristic aspects of wearing a mask and forcing people and violence. I mean, it's a whole bundle of things that were wrong with him.
Is this something you think that has existed in him forever? Like, even in his younger years before he had the power and the money, that these were his kinks? These are the things that he was into? Really? Because my question was going to be, are these things that came about later because he kept going to such extreme behavior that it's like, well, that's not that exciting anymore, so I got to level up to this. And then that's not that exciting, so I got to level up to this. And then you start getting into that really dangerous territory where you are harming other people for your own enjoyment. You think he was like this just all along? Like, this is just kind of his thing, and give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, we never know for everybody because
Sure.
the development of this stuff is always unique, but it's always a combination of biology, genetics, and social environment. Sometimes there's an abuse history, but certainly not always, meaning a sexual abuse history. And sometimes it's exposure, particularly early in life, to weird, violent, or kinky porn
Hmm.
that contributes. But there's also, some thinking that some people are more pre-wired out of the chute for being a bit off sexually, different than the rest of us.
Hmm.
So my guess is that he was a bit off from the beginning and maybe more prone to extreme sexual behavior with extreme sexual drives. And then, yes, as he became more powerful, it progressed to where it's like an addiction. I need more and more and more and more to feel satisfied. But to me, it's, there are people who are into foot fetishes and shoes. And I met one guy once who was into ears. I'm like, he had to have photos of women's ears. Another one that was into women's hair.
Yeah.
He was actually riding the city bus around, and he would, I don't know how he pulled this off, but this was in all the local news here in
Oh,
Portland. He
God.
would masturbate in women's hair,
Oh,
sitting
my
behind them on the
God.
bus.
Oh, my
I mean, so
God.
people develop these weird things, and I don't know how to explain
Yeah.
some of this stuff. It's just, it's poorly understood. How do you research it? You get these stories and you try to go over their history, and sometimes you just can't find where did this develop from. But it does tend to develop, as they become sexually motivated in their teens. That's when the weird fantasies start. But then I think a lot of people, they don't have the power to pull off what he pulled off.
Hmm.
And yes, I agree with you. It did get more extreme over time.
Shavaun, explain to me how someone gets off doing that into someone's hair in a city bus.
I don't know. And there was
God.
another one. I'm giving you my stories today. We would have a
Oh,
very fun dinner party
yes.
conversation. There was another one at my local Safeway about a mile from my
The
house.
irony.
And they exactly, and they caught the guy. He was having little cups of semen, and he would walk around in the Safeway and throw it at women. And a lot of them, he did it from behind, and they didn't know. And eventually, he was caught on camera, and someone saw him do it, and he was arrested. And but I remember that one. It's like, where did that come from? I mean, it's
Yeah.
just, you find these there are stories you probably don't want to hear.
Yeah.
I've got more, but
Oh,
yeah,
I'm
won't
morbidly
share them all.
curious about these people because it's so insane. I mean, what's scary to me about all of these things that people are doing, um, a lot of these folks, they were brought up pre-internet porn age,
That's true.
and now, I mean, there's something for everybody out there. It seems. What I'm scared about is that type of behavior, becoming more rampant, more extreme, more weird
Yeah.
stuff out in public, more extreme things that are hurtful to other people that
Yep.
they think is just normal. And I think that's a
Yep.
big question about the Diddy situation. Was he, and it doesn't make it right by any means, but was he aware of the harm he was causing other people with these sexual proclivities? I don't think there's any arguing that he knows it's not okay to kick somebody in the face or stomp on their head. There's no question knowing you can't, that's wrong. But the sexual stuff, when, you have someone who seems to be kind of there under duress and it's like, yeah, this is great, Diddy. He seems to be taking that at face value without ever quite recognizing, oh shit, like I'm really harming these people that I supposedly care about.
I put that one down to his psychopathy, which
Hmm.
I don't think there's any question that this guy's a psychopath at this point. He's
Hmm.
sadistic, psychopathic, manipulative, all of those, what we call the dark tetrad, of qualities that are very bad mix. And psychopathic people see other people as objects. They
Hmm.
don't love in the way that the rest of us feel a kind of a romantic attachment or a loving attachment even to our children. Other people are objects to be used.
Yeah.
And so even though they may intellectually see that, yeah, this person is not happy with what's going on, I can see that, but they really do not care. And that's what makes them so dangerous. There's just no empathic attunement there.
But they can act like it. They can
Mhm.
fake it pretty good, right?
Very much, very much. Yes.
And that's
What makes them scary. The smart ones fake it very well.
how do they know to do that? Is it just emulating other people that they've seen showing love and showing care, and you just get really good at faking it till you make it? Or, I mean, are they able to turn on those emotions for a slight period of time, but then flip them right off when they need to not feel the accountability of their actions?
I think it's an acting job, and a lot of people develop it. People with this personality style develop in childhood, and they learn. Empathy develops age 3, 4, 5, 6 is when kids are supposed to develop it. And for whatever reason, combination of genetics and environment, these folks don't have it, but they see what gets them attention and praise. And when they can act loving toward other people, oh, I get something beneficial back for doing that. And so it's again a style that develops in childhood, and they get really good at it.
Let's talk about one thing that he is alleged to have done, and it just came out in court, is basically blowing up a car, blowing up Kid Cudi's car. Kid Cudi is a rapper who was dating Cassie Ventura for a short period of time while they were kind of having a downspout. Diddy recklessly sleeping with everybody that he wanted to. But if she did it, that's a big no-no. He found out about it, made a threat that he would blow up his car. And then what do you know? A little while later, his car blows up. When we're trying to figure out what the hell's going on with the person, is that a prime example of a narcissistic injury, or is this just a psychopath on a rampage?
I think you've got the psychopathic lack of concern for somebody else's life, and then the narcissistic rage at how dare you, because she's my object. She's not a person, but she belongs to me, and how dare you?
Yeah, and that's just there's a lot of that with Diddy. It seems we've seen videos of Diddy where he gets into these rages, and people looked at that and go, look how passionate he is. Look how dedicated he is to what he's doing. There's a lot of folks in high places of power that have reactions like that, and it could be narcissistic rage. And sometimes it's looked at or used as, well, this is what makes them who they are. Without that sort of passion, and I'm saying that in air quotes for everybody listening to this, they wouldn't be where they are. Is that, not blowing up other people's cars, but is that more of a common thing with really high level individuals in their fields or in their crafts where they've reached such a level, but maybe they wouldn't have gotten there without the intimidation, without that rage, without basically people telling them no at some point because they're fearing what is going to happen to them if they were to speak up?
Now, it's appalling to me that we make awful people famous.
Yeah.
And how other famous people will validate, justify, and go along with this kind of extreme behavior. And this would be, another topic for a book on all the awful people that have become celebrities, and then contrast that with the benevolent people, that have used their wealth and fame for good. The one that pops into my head is Keanu Reeves, who's known as a humanitarian and always doing wonderful things. And I'm sure there are many other examples, but there's this dark side to the entertainment industry. And I think as a culture, we need to think about that and look at it. It's like, who do we make famous, and what does that say about us?
Yeah.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.